Okay, welcome to the Lunenburg Conservation Commission meeting of December 18th, 2024. In accordance with the requirements of the open meetings law, please be advised that this meeting is being audio and video recorded. The agenda lists all of the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and those that are reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. Please address all comments to the chair. The meeting of the Conservation Commission will be held by Zoom at the link provided in this notice. For anyone this is kind of, they're listening in for the first time, you can go find this agenda on the town calendar and also posted on the town website under meetings and agendas in the Conservation Commission area. The Zoom meeting ID is 875-2621-4314. Okay, and we will start with a roll call. Jenny?
Present.
Rich? Jeff? Jeff definitely told me he wouldn't be able to make it. Mike?
Present.
Chris?
Present.
Okay, thank you. And we will start out with announcements, and I have one announcement. So we're gonna have a special schedule in January to help us kind of get around the holidays. So in January, we'll be meeting on January 8th, January 22nd, and then on January 29th, we are working on getting all of our lake reports lined up to come in for a special session on the 29th as well. So for anyone that might need to participate in January that's used to our regular cadence, be aware that those will be, different dates than our normal cadence. Chris, you did have one topic that I wanted to go ahead and ask if you would go ahead and announce as the public announcements. I think it was paint stewardship.
Yes. So it's actually called the Paint Stewardship Program, and the program is a producer responsibility program that manages leftover paint. And how it works is consumers would pay a small fee at the point of sale, which funds the program. The program is managed by a nonprofit organization that represents paint manufacturers. The organization establishes paint collection sites, transports the paint for processing, and provides public education materials on proper paint management. At the state level, there's paint stewardship legislation pending. The state's 2030 solid waste master plan identifies paint stewardship as a key contributor to achieving their zero waste goal. The program will accept both oil-based and latex paints. When the paint is ultimately discarded, it's where it's collected at these collection points. It's picked up by an organization called Paint Care, and Paint Care will actually bring it to a reprocessing plant where it's reblended and sold to entities like Restore and Habitat for Humanity. There are some opponents to the program. Retailers Association of Massachusetts, the National Federation of Independent Business, Northern Retail Lumber Dealers Association, and MRF in Springfield, which operates Waste Management Recycles of America. The proponents are 31% of the municipalities of the state, Mass DEP, MMA, which is Massachusetts Municipal Association, and local governments and organizations across Massachusetts. The opponents, what the opponents are saying is that they fear it'll decrease profitability by expanding the number of plastic bottles with a mandated deposit. They also argued that the program could lead to similar recovery fees or take-back programs or for other products, potentially increasing consumer costs and burdening retailers, things like that. Some argued that the paint stewardship fee is essentially a tax, but I just wanted to bring both sides of this, proponents and opponents of this program, and that's it at a high level.
Were there any actions, for the Conservation Commission, or is it awareness and ensuring awareness?
It's mostly awareness and just, hoping we get, get the word out and get people, to, basically, get behind it and get this pushed through.
Okay, very good.
I was actually happy that my biggest question personally was, what do they do with the paint? So I was pleasantly surprised that they reblend it and it's reused. So I was afraid it's, sometimes we hear about our bottles that we return end up going to China, you know,
Mhm.
and this seems to be a local program. From my personal opinion, it looks like a worthwhile program.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for raising awareness.
Sure.
Okay, so do we have any other comments from members of the Conservation Commission? All right, we'll move it over to public comment. As a reminder, public comments are limited to 3 minutes and on a subject matter under direct jurisdiction of the commission. Comments about current agenda items are to be made during the comment period of that specific agenda item. Please address all comments to the chair. And, for members of the public speaking now or during one of the hearings, raise your hand is the right protocol, and I will call on you, or turn on your camera and raise your hand there if you're not familiar with the Zoom interface, and state your name and your address as you introduce yourself. Do we have any comments from the public? I'm not seeing any. Okay, and I haven't seen minutes from previous meetings either, so I don't think we have any actions there. Sophia, have we had any requests for continuation in the past 48 hours?
Yes, so 390 Howard Street, they requested to continue to the next meeting.
Okay,
And the 400 Leominster Shirley Road, that specific topic, they requested to continue to the next meeting. That's all I have.
okay, very good. Well, we'll go ahead and take action on those and get them out of the way. So I understand, Sophie, 390 Howard Street has requested a continuation to the January 8th meeting. So I'm looking for a motion to continue from the Conservation Commission. Oh, hang on. Bill Hannigan has his hand raised. I will call on Bill before we go there.
Good evening. Thanks for taking my call on this. The 400 Leominster Shirley Road, I do want to have some comments about that before we continue it. So if we can just hold off on continuing that until we get to that specific item, and then we continue it at that point. Thanks.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks for that clarification, Bill. Okay, back to 390 Howard Street. Do I have a motion to continue to January 8th?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Chris. Roll call vote. Jenny,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and I for myself. So we've continued that one to January 8th. All right, we'll go back to new public hearings now. Just gonna go check on stuff. I do like to, during the doing the Zoom meetings, pin my commissioners, but sometimes it pins other people, and I don't know why. Anyway, we're just gonna live with it. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a notice of intent by Chris McKenzie for a septic system upgrade with related site grading at a bordering vegetated wetland located at 48 Arbor Street. Okay, do we have Chris or his representative here with us tonight?
So Dan Proctor, William R. Proctor Excavating. I'm the contractor putting in a septic system for the Cuda Marshes. I will be speaking on that job.
Okay, thank you. So do you want to give us a overview of that project then? Do you have the ability to share, Danny?
I don't, I'd have to rely on Sophia if she could.
Okay. Sophia, can you share that, site plan for us?
Yes, I just have to go into OpenGov one moment.
Okay.
I can do it if you want. I'm supporting Danny here today.
That would be great, Greg.
Why don't I do it? I got it right up here. Bear with me. Oh, you need to give me permission, I think.
Permission granted?
How's that?
That looks good to me.
So basically, we have a failed Title V cesspool on this property. We have a proposed gravity system, new tank, 42 by 19.5 foot Presby bed with associated filling on the low side. Obviously, he has the 30-foot no disturb zone in red, the 50-foot buffer zone in blue, and the 100-foot buffer zone line in the orange. The new system on the plan is showing is 57 feet from the edge of wetlands. Pretty standard. Probably a week's worth of work, weather permitting. And normal erosion control straw wattle would be put in place, obviously, with a site visit from conservation before we start.
There's a little bit of elevation there. I mean, I personally would be looking for a straw wattle and a, silt fence. Just
Okay,
because it is a little steep out in that, backyard area.
okay. We certainly can do that.
I noticed in the DEP, comments, they had some questions about how the wetland was delineated.
Okay, I'll ask Greg for his interpretation on that.
Yeah, I checked in with so I'm filling in here. I apologize. I didn't prepare this, although I did stamp it in the plan, review and stamp it, but I didn't prepare the notice of intent application. But when I understand that wetland delineation report was supplemental information was filed with your office.
Sophia, are you in
I'm-
receipt of that?
What do you, can you clarify supplemental information, Greg?
Jack told me that that wetland delineation report was, that a wetlands delineation report was requested, and that he did provide that.
Oh, yeah, yep. Yeah, I see that Maddie uploaded that to the OpenGov account.
So I mean, essentially, we delineated the wetlands the way we do every other one, right? It's based on soils, vegetation, and hydrology. And that report is, just documents the procedures for that.
Okay. But I didn't see anything out there that seemed like it could be, controversial with regard to, my own
Yeah, in this case,
walkout.
in this case, it's pretty topography driven. It's right at the it's right at the base of as you indicated, Madam Chair. There's a slope in the back of the house, and it's fairly topography driven, and then it's right at the bottom of the slope where the wetland is.
Do we have questions or comments from other members of the commission? Sophia?
I guess it's just kind of a comment or concern. I believe this is the site that I noticed a bunch of wetland buffer vegetation that was slashed up until the actual wetland flag lines on the steeper side. And so that was just concerning. I don't know when that happened, but it's not something that's permitted. Or
I
should be
know- I
permitted
know
without
the-
going through conservation.
I'm not sure when that happened either, but I do know that the owner of the property was aware of your comments that you made about that.
And were they able to clarify when that happened or under what circumstances it happened?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Sophie, the vegetation that was slashed, was any of it like trees or saplings or anything, or was it all kind of soft vegetation that would die back in the fall anyway?
It's hard to tell. Some of it might have been some thick brush. Some of it might have been saplings as well. It's cut down to like, I would say maybe 3 inches in height. But I don't know how the wetland scientist was able to determine exactly where that ended. I know soils tell a pretty good story, but again, it's concerning that that happened.
Agreed. So it makes me wonder if we shouldn't consider because also the property it looks like is up for sale.
That's correct.
If we shouldn't further impose some type of delineation of the 30-foot in there, just to ensure that as home ownership changes hands, people are clear that's a regulated area. Does anybody have thoughts on that? Conservation commissioners?
Yeah, if any chance we have an opportunity to educate the new owners, I think would be a good idea.
I
So
certainly
what?
could, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Danny. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, I certainly could put up some markings at the 30-foot no disturb zone. Um, Wetland flaggings, the placards that you have, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have placards? Yeah, that's what I think that would be excellent. In my opinion, as one commissioner. Mike, you have your hand up.
Yes, Madam Chair. I'm just curious, how far does this property? I guess I was just looking, is this the only place where this could be constructed?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, the gravity was the key, trying to get gravity. If we had to pump, we'd actually have to cross the wetland to get up on high ground on the other side of the property. So this is the best spot on the site to have a gravity septic system.
So above the existing cesspool, I was just looking, and I'm not sure if the property extends to that point by Arbor Street.
Well, because of the grade change, yeah, we'd have to pump up there, and then
You'd have to pump.
that cot path would be lost. So that's why we went the route we did, to have a gravity system without losing the front yard.
And does Greg concur with your?
Did you say Greg?
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah, you look at this in a repair, in a situation where you have a repair septic system that is going to be replacing a failed, in this case, cesspool, which is, essentially the term failure here is referring to failure to protect public health and safety, essentially. That you really look to put this in the best spot from a soil standpoint and, overall, lot layout standpoint, the soils out here are pretty tough. We had to do a sieve analysis for the perk tests, for example. We couldn't do a conventional perk test. So really, when you look at this, not reinventing the wheel and moving it to a completely different part of the site is definitely a factor with these things. Especially since we can do it in a manner that in our view complies with your rules and wetland bylaw and regulations. So it's really soils driven and also topography driven, as Danny said. It's a gravity system today. It becomes onerous and a lot more costly to do pump systems on the owner. So and the system you're going to get will be replacing a system that's failing to protect the public health and safety from a wastewater standpoint. You'll be getting a new modern day system. So it's generally viewed as a win-win situation, particularly, as I said, if we can do it in compliance with your regs, which we're not showing any work in the 30. The system is outside of the 50 as is required by Title V requirements and things. So
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mike. Do we have any questions or comments from members of the public? Okay, I don't see anybody with their hand raised. I think I'm entertaining, we have a DEP number for this, so I think I would entertain a motion to approve the two special conditions that I heard articulated were addition of a silt fence to the straw wattle, and then the addition of buffer zone placards, protected zone placards along the 30-foot delineation there. And we didn't establish how often. I think every 20 or 25 feet would be fine. Do I have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve with those special conditions.
Thank you, Chris. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jenny. Roll call vote, Chris,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
and I for myself. Thank you all.
Thank you.
thanks.
Okay, moving along. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Nigel Hamburg for renovations to an existing single-family home, reconstruction of an existing deck, removal of 4 trees within the 50 to 100-foot buffer zone, and restoration replacement of an existing 50-square-foot shed within the 50-foot no-build zone of the bordering vegetated wetland located at 50 Pine Grove Road. Do we have the applicant and or their representative here with us tonight?
Madam Chair, Greg Roy with Dillson Roy. I'm representing the applicant this evening.
Welcome back,
could I-
Greg.
Thank you. I stopped my screen share, but just for formality, I'm assuming it's okay if I reshare here.
Yes, please do.
Okay, how's that? Can we see that?
That looks good.
Okay. So again, Greg Roy with Dillson Roy. I'm standing in here for Frank McPartland from my office, another engineer who's been working on this, but I was going to be in attendance this evening, so I told him I'd cover it. But you do have the B crew here tonight, so I apologize for that. Pine Grove is located here. Pine Grove Road is located here on the right-hand side of the screen. Lake Whalum is shown highlighted in blue. This first blue line here that you see is the limit of the 30-foot no disturb zone. The second line here, blue line, is the limit of the 50-foot no disturb zone. And the dotted line here, at the edge of the green hatching is the limit of the 100-foot buffer zone on the property. There's an existing house, which is shown here in, gray hatching. And then there is a, existing deck that's not existing anymore. So this, rectangle here, that's slightly different color, gray or different color, is a deck that existed, I think, prior to July. Actually fell off the house because it was in such bad repair. So we're showing it as an existing deck because it has been it's been there. Assessor's records and things and photos, I think, that we submitted to your commission, to staff, shows that the deck was there. It has now fallen off the house and been removed, but I wanted to explain that. There's an existing septic tank. You can kind of see this circle here. It's a little difficult to see. And then this red hatched area that I have, a red ballooned area here, is the location of the existing leaching field. The existing leaching field has passed the Title V inspection, so it is not intended to be replaced. It is still functioning, and meets all the criteria to pass and be continued for use. And then there's an existing shed structure that's located down here, which straddles the 30-foot no disturb zone that's present there today. Really, we're asking you for 4 things this evening. The first is to rebuild the deck in the location that it existed before. So essentially just rebuilding it in the place of this magenta, I'll call it, or lighter gray rectangle. That is outside of the 50-foot no structure zone. So in spite of the fact that it was, in our view, pre-existing, it would still comply. We wouldn't need any relief for that. Secondly, there are 4 trees that are shown underneath these X's that are greater than 12 inches in diameter, that are in very close proximity to the leaching field, and the root system is causing an issue and could likely have long-term functionality issues with the leaching field. So we're proposing to remove those trees. They're all within definitely within 5 feet, some closer than that to the existing leaching field.
Greg,
that's-
just one comment. Jenny and I saw 5 trees marked that looked like
Okay.
mature trees.
Okay. I'm not sure. Frank handed me this plan and said there was 4 trees. Do you know where the 5th one was?
Kind of at the corner, just below where your cursor just was.
Right here?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's not right. Yeah, I think it was in between where you were when I said go to the corner. I think it's right about there.
In here? Okay.
I think so. Jenny, is that sort of where you thought it was too? I was just looking at the photo right now. It seems like it's approximately there.
Yeah, it looked like it was in between those 2 big X's where his cursor
Okay.
is right now.
Was it a smaller diameter tree by chance, or?
I actually think the first X is a smaller diameter tree, and then the next one is a larger diameter tree.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure about that, I guess. I'd have to verify that.
We
But
might be
if
able
there's
to
5
share
flags in the
photos.
field, I guess. And they're in close proximity, it's plausible that we missed one here on the plan, but not,
Yeah,
so I'm not sure. But thank you for bringing that up. Did it look like it was the same kind of close proximity to where the leaching field would be? Like kind of
Oh, yeah.
along the same line,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, and it's marked. It was kind of in line with so it would have been the third kind of in that line.
Okay. So anyway, that's ask 2, the removal of 4 or 5 trees, as you pointed out. Ask 3 is to do some improvements to the the ground surface, if you will, sort of just give this a facelift. I think that just kind of, smooth this out and bring this back to a lawn condition, where we're showing in green. That would all be outside of the 30-foot, and in fact, upgradient of an existing stone wall that exists right underneath this yellow line here. We would be proposing to put a line of erosion control, which would be wattles and silt fence, right along that and upgrading to that stone wall. So we'd be keeping all of that proposed work outside of the 30-foot no disturb zone. That's ask 3. And then 4, the applicant would like to rebuild the existing shed in the exact same footprint. So no change to that from a dimensional standpoint or a size standpoint or a location standpoint. And while that's under construction, we're proposing to wrap that with silt fence as well, just in that, just downgrading in that, just to make sure we don't have any migration. So no real soil disturbance or vegetation disturbance in this area. We just want to rebuild that structure in place. So that, as I mentioned, would require some work on a pre-existing structure, some of which is within the 30-foot no disturb zone. This has received a DEP number. There were no comments with that. I know that, as you've indicated, I know that several of you have been to the site. So I'm happy to take any questions or comments and try to provide you answers to the extent that I can.
I appreciate that overview. Thank you. So the shed seems like it's primarily within the 30-foot zone. I mean, it's pretty fallen down, but my observation was, yeah, even that drawing seemed very generous with regard to how much is in the 30-foot versus how much is in the 50. So the narrative of it being in the 50-foot zone seems overly generous.
Yeah, it's definitely a good portion of it's in the 30. Yeah. I didn't
Yeah.
mean to imply otherwise, sorry.
Yeah, and then it really doesn't look like that shed's been in repair for a long time. Is there an opportunity, or would your client be amenable to bringing it outside of the 50-foot zone? I mean, it'd be closer to the deck there.
Out of the 50?
Yeah,
I don't know. I'd have to check.
it's more level there too. At least it appeared to be when I was walking there.
Yeah.
The other question I had is the deck size. Is it going to remain the same, or is it going to be increased?
My understanding is they're doing the exact same size that was there existing before it
Okay,
fell
and
off the house.
there are no stairs drawn
Ah,
on there,
That's
or
a great question. Presumably there would be stairs. I am not sure about the stairs though.
yeah. I would like to have the stairs shown so that we don't have any
Mhm.
misunderstanding about the stairs being outside of the outline that we're currently looking at.
Okay.
Would the existing footers be used, or would new footers be installed?
So I would expect they would, I don't know, I'm just going by what I would do. Of course, I'm an engineer, which some consider to be a disease. But I would imagine that they would probably replace the footers just because it's been a while. But I would expect they'd go in a similar location.
Okay, what's the dimension of that deck as drawn?
No, I knew you were going to ask me this stuff, and I almost asked Mike. Let me see if I can get a dimension here real quick. I apologize. 12 feet by the width of the house, which is 36 feet. So 12 out from the house, 36 feet wide, or long, however you want to say it.
Okay, that was all my questions, and I personally would like to have the 5 trees marked, just so that, again, so that there are no misunderstandings. I'll open the floor. Do we have questions or comments from other conservation commissioners? Yes, Chris.
Yeah, I just want to say, I had the same idea you did, Mary. I think that shed has we have an opportunity to get that out of there and put it back, a little further back from the water, so.
Thank you, Chris. Sophia.
Greg, I don't know if you kind of covered more of the erosion control. I don't know if you looked at my comments, but I was concerned about the grade being a little on the steeper side and just going through and clearing that whole area, and then just seeding it. Do you feel like there's any concerns with the seed kind of washing down the gradient at all?
Yeah, we did actually, I didn't say this, but we did actually issue a comment response letter that Frank prepared dated the December 13th. And we have committed to, where are we at here? 4, I think, was that comment. It was existing steep grade and proposed light grading and clearing causes concern for erosion runoff and rain events. Advised jute netting in a more aggressive way. So our comment was, after the sidewalk, DNR discussed this with the applicant. The proposed area to be loamed and seeded will be reinforced with jute netting to allow the reestablishment of vegetation. So just to beef that up a little bit, which should more than take care of the problem. This is one of those situations where under most scenarios would likely be fine. You would likely get vegetation growing on this slope without a big problem. There's a slope for sure down to, from the house to the lake, but it's not excessively steep. If you have that abnormal rain event that now happens, about once every 3 days during the summer.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah, if you have those real intense rains, that's when you're gonna have, after you've just seeded and it hasn't been established, that's when you're gonna have the problem. So we agree. We'll put some jute netting on that.
And is that area going to be up gradient from the existing wall?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So you'd have the no work below the siltation barrier, which again is staked straw wattles and silt fence, and then upgrading of that under the disturbed slope coming up from that, you'd have jute netting. So, that's kind of a belt and suspenders approach here, I think.
My other question was, I know in previous projects you've kind of discussed the possibilities of damaging septic systems by removing trees, including the root.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we don't want to remove the root mass in this case. We do want to take the tree down below grade, so we're going to grind it a few inches below grade, but we will be leaving the root ball so as not to disturb the roots are likely in the leaching field in some capacity. It's not causing a problem at the moment, which is creating a failure. But we want to stop any further progression of that. So we'd be cutting the tree, grinding it below grade, and making sure that there's no more growth of that tree in the future that would also have resulting root growth.
So
Okay,
Greg,
I completely agree.
Will not pop the root balls.
Greg, can you scroll up on this note? On this correspondence, I didn't have the benefit of seeing it before the meeting.
You bet. Let me see if I can get it all in there. I can't zoom. Comment one was just about the fact that the existing deck doesn't exist anymore. So
Yeah.
I narrated that. Comment two was what we were just discussing about the roots, leaving the stumps. We do intend to cut the tree and grind them a few inches below grade, but we'll leave the most of the mass of the root. So it won't be excessively disturbing the soil or disrupting the leaching system, or risk disrupting the leaching system. And then I'm not sure about this one. I wasn't apprised of this. So I'm not sure if anybody else can commentate on that or not.
Well, the response
was-
seems plausible.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did
so
bring that.
effectively, we wouldn't be doing any more work within the 30-foot. All of the work would be confined to this application outside of that 30-foot zone.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Sophia, any other questions or comments?
Nope, I just agree with the finding of the other tree in that line, because I do also have photos that they're marked.
Okay, thank you.
No, that's it.
Okay. Mike,
Our
you had
surveyors are
your,
good, but sometimes they're not perfect.
yeah,
Sorry
Mike,
about
you
that.
had your hand up.
Yes, I think Sophia answered part of it, and I was just wondering, I know, was there any thought about putting in any other trees as these are being cut, even though it's not in our purview to ask, but we're just curious, or I'm just curious to see if there was any plan other than some of the shrubs that are proposed. Any small, because you're going to be opening up the canopy big time here, Greg. So it's an opportunity to perhaps replace some of those trees if you thought it was a good idea to do so.
So I confess, I asked that question to Frank the first thing when he was briefing me for this meeting. I said, well, where's your replacement trees? They're going to ask you. So we looked at that. It's Frank's opinion, and I haven't been to the site personally, but for those of you who have, you can, correct me if I'm wrong here. It's Frank's opinion that it's really not a lot of space there. It's a pretty narrow lot. The leaching field, we're taking the trees out that are in real close proximity, but really planting trees within 10 feet of leaching field is not really advisable. And there's not many places in the back of the house there, certainly within the 50. That are outside of that limit. And then, we are leaving we're leaving all of the trees that are in the 30. So we have a 14-inch, a 16-inch, I'm not sure what this is, another 14-inch, an 18-inch deciduous here, 12-inch, 2 12s here, and a bunch of trees down by this. So it's not like we're, it's not like the resulting lot will be deforested completely. Matter of fact, the area within the 30 has quite a significant canopy, which is, will be protective of the water from a shade standpoint. And we do have, this 18-inch tree that will be maintained here. So I get it. We're removing 5 trees, but there's not a lot of area to replace them, I guess is our opinion. You can you can be free to disagree, I guess, but that's my response.
Mike, I would also add, I was out there and it is a narrow lot. And I actually really like this lot because it is very heavily treed in the 30-foot zone. So
Okay.
I really appreciated that. And I, having walked out on it, it feels very claustrophobic in that, kind of backyard area that's highlighted in green. So I kind of agree with what Greg just said in this case.
And that's fine. I just wanted to bring it up, and
Oh yeah, it's a fair question, and I'm glad you did bring it up. It's worthy of discussion.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from members of the commission? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Do we have questions or comments from members of the public? And I am not seeing any. So by just speaking as one commissioner, would like to see if the shed could be moved outside of the 50. And then I think I'd like to have the drawing also updated to have that extra tree shown. And then I'd like to know definitively that the deck is not going to have stairs as it's drawn right now, or that the stairs would be within the footprint as drawn.
Would you object to the stairs being outside the footprint? I mean, it would comply with your
Well,
50-foot policy.
You
I'm
know,
not sure.
I-
I'm not sure what the plan is. I'm just trying to.
I'm not
just trying to head
I'm-
off an issue.
me
with
as
something.
one, you know how it goes. I can only speak for me and I'm only one vote, right?
Yeah.
It's outside of the 50. And so I personally would not object to something reasonable, but I'm not having seen something or seen dimensions on something would not give you a pre-approval on it.
Understood. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Jenny, you raised your hand.
I had a question about the deck. What, can we find out what material it's going to be and also what will be underneath it? Did we go over that? And did I miss it?
No, you didn't miss it. It's a good question.
Yeah, we can do that for you. Yeah, I mean, obviously the framing will be pressure treated. I don't know if they're gonna go with a more expensive composite or if they're gonna stick with pressure treated or if they're gonna do natural or what. So, and I'll get the underside added to that too from a material standpoint.
Okay, so Greg, would it be okay to continue this to January 8th?
Yeah, January, yeah, we can get these turned around fast, so January 8th will be fine.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Anything else they'd be looking for the applicant to bring at the next hearing? Because we don't want them have to go back and forth. Okay, and I'm not seeing anything. So I think I'm looking for a motion to continue to January 8th.
So moved.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Jenny. Roll call vote, Mike,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Jenny,
Hi.
and I for myself.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along to continued public hearings. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a request to amend an order of resource area delineation by Christopher Anderson to remove a portion of the resource area delineation from the order due to maintenance performed on a man-made detention basin at 400 Leominster Shirley Road. And do we have the applicant here tonight?
Well, you have the applicant representative, Bill Hannigan.
Thank you.
And the applicant is on here as well, Jack Brennan of the Brennan Group. I just wanted to touch base with regards to our conversation at the last meeting. The last meeting, I think we were pretty much there. And then Sophia brought up a letter that was issued by DEP on, I believe it was the 24th of September. Going back and looking at the chronology of events surrounding the two filings that were created on this. One was the ANRAD request by this office for our client, Lunenburg, JMC Lunenburg LLC, for the wetland delineation. We did that in October of 22. The commission reviewed and walked the site on a few occasions. I believe that the agent at the time went out several times as well, looked at different areas, and at that point, the delineation was agreed upon, and we went and received the order of resource area determination in December of 2022. In January of 2023, PJ Keating sent in an application requesting an RDA be issued for the reconstruction or maintenance of an existing drainage basin that was part of their operational systems within their Keating the Keating wash plants for their product. We weren't part of that submittal when we weren't really fully aware of what was going on, but the commission then issued a negative determination to allow that work to be done and issued the determination of applicability in March of 2023. That was then, the work on that was then completed by PJ Keating Company. And more recently, as we're getting ready for our future development on that side of the road, we felt it would be prudent to go back and more or less update the ORAD to reflect the fact that that basin has now been constructed in that area, and that series of wetlands is no longer part of the jurisdictional aspect of either the act or the bylaw. During that process, we had requested getting a copy of the determination from the town, which I understand he had changed the personnel, moving things around, and no one could put their fingers on the actual document. And I believe what happened was that someone, I presume that someone instructed Sophia just to issue, basically a copy. That was issued on September 11th of 2024. And DEP, at the last meeting, I was provided a letter from DEP. I think that was on the 24th of September, basically intervening on that determination of applicability that was filed as a second. It was a second filing, basically. So I've talked to Judy Schmitz at DEP. They're kind of working their way through this, trying to figure out what to do. But my perspective on it is that the determination of applicability that was issued in March of 2023 is the one that governs. And that was the one that was issued based upon the vote by the commission. And then the work was done. And since no one could find it, issuing another, basically a copy of it doesn't start the clock ticking again with DEP. And so that's where we are with it right now. We're trying to work with PJ Keating and DEP to kind of clear this up so we can come back to the commission and allow the commission to hopefully have correspondence from DEP that allows us all to move forward. But I just wanted to just touch base with the commission, let them know that we are working on trying to resolve that old issue. But I do think it would be helpful if the commission could actually send a letter into DEP basically retracting the September 11th filing, because it was a duplicate filing of the resource area determination or the DOA determination of applicability that was already issued in March of 2023. And I think that would at least clarify from the DEP's perspective that the town is acknowledging that, hey, we already approved this back in March. We couldn't find it. We now have a copy of that we were, because I sent a copy of that. We found that through Keating. We sent a copy of that over to Sophia. So now we have the right original, and that this version that was sent over on September 11th is not the original, and doesn't basically start a clock ticking on September 11th, because the clock basically expired back in March of 2023. I think that would be helpful in clarifying some things. And then from there, I think we're going to have to let PJ Keating discuss this with DEP about how that all gets resolved before we come back to the commission and do a final decision on how we're going to deal with that D series of wetlands that's in that area. So just an update. I wanted to provide that, and if there's any questions, I can try to address them. But at that point, we'd just be requesting continuance to the next meeting.
Okay, and if I understand, Bill, and thanks for that summary and thanks for the chronology. That's really helpful.
Yeah, I'm actually
me.
I actually told Judy I'm gonna put that in writing in an email and kind of give her the documentation of everything along the way so that she can look at it, and I'll copy the commission on that when I send that out.
That would be wonderful. Thank
Yeah.
you. And so I think what you're asking of us is that you have obtained the original from Keating. You've provided that to Sophia, and you would like for us to instruct Sophia to send that to DEP and retract the one that was sent in September of 2024.
Yeah, I mean, you already sent that to DEP back in March. At least I think it was Anna that was involved in, and the letter that it says the DEP was copied. But yeah, I mean, if you want to just confirm that, you can send that to Judy as well to say, hey, here's the original. You know, we couldn't find it or whatever, and then so we thought maybe that was never issued. So we tried to get something out so that Bill could move forward with what he's trying to do, and that's kind of where we stand right now. But that was in fact a duplicate issuance of a permit that was issued in March of 2023. I think that would be helpful, and it would help. I think it would help DEP to know that the commission is acknowledging that they actually issued the permit in March of 2023 and not September of 2024.
Okay. Sophia, does that make sense to you? I think you may have also talked to DEP.
I did. I have to say it is, I think the puzzle pieces are slowly coming together. Thank you, Bill, for filling me in on that whole chronology, and thanks for talking to Judy about that too. It's very clear now, and I can provide that to them. If they have it already, that's fine, and I send another one, that's okay. But I will also send them that, the original, and try to make sure that's clear.
Yeah, so if you want, I'm going to be sending that chronology out tomorrow. Maybe you could reply to that chronology and say you agree, or you can issue your own statement ahead of it. That's fine too. However, if you want to keep it separate, which I think maybe actually that might be the better way of doing it. So there's no, the commission on their own accord is saying, hey, here's the original. So disregard the one from September, and then I can follow up with the chronology to her. So it's a moving puzzle at this point in time, but I think we're starting to get it under control.
I agree.
Okay.
Do we have any questions or comments from members of the commission? Does anybody have any concerns with this approach? Okay, and I'm not seeing any. To me, I think it makes a lot of sense. So what I think I'm going to ask is for a vote on that, just so, sometimes things get a little bit weedy and convoluted. I want to make certain that everybody's clear that the commission is in alignment. And if the commission's not in alignment, I want to formalize that with also a vote to ensure people are saying one way or the other. So I'm looking for a motion to have Sophia send the original and clarify that the copy that was sent in September was a misunderstanding of the office, that we misunderstood that the original had not actually been filed, and that the original was actually granted in March of 2023.
So moved.
Thank you, Chris.
Second, Mike?
Thank you, Mike. Roll call vote. Mike,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Aye for myself. Okay, thank you. And
So
thanks for that,
this-
Bill.
At the same time, we'll continue this, this matter to the next meeting, and hopefully by the time the next meeting happens, all this is kind of, all the pieces have fallen into place. So we'd also request a continuance to the January 8th meeting, I think is your next meeting.
Okay, I think that makes a lot of sense as well. I'm looking for a motion to continue to January 8th.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Chris. Roll call vote, Mike,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving along. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by DNA Lunenburg LLC for construction of stormwater management system within the 50 and 100-foot buffer zone, but outside of the 30-foot buffer zone bordering a vegetated wetland located at Electric Ave and Pierce Ave. DEP file number 2081332. Do we have the applicant and or their representative here tonight?
For the record, Bill Hannigan with Hannigan Engineering, back in the fold.
Okay, Bill, you want to just get us back in the zone with regard to this project and what we had,
Yeah.
where we were, where we left off?
Yeah, at the last meeting, we went over the plans. There were some comments from DEP relative to labeling some of the water quality outlets and some other items. And at that point, we were waiting for the peer review to come back through the planning board peer review company, Graves Engineering. We just received that yesterday, and I can bring that up. Because there were really no major comments on it, but we can review that. Real
Yeah,
quick.
I'd appreciate that, Bill.
Yeah,
Thank
let
you.
me just, yeah, so this is the letter from Graves, which basically says they reviewed all of our documents. And then there's these things they talk about relative to zoning. And then site plan review, they have no issues with compliance with the regs. Stormwater and sewer regulations, they have no issues with compliance with those regulations. They reviewed the drainage report and found that the methodology and calculations were in order. Compliance with DEP stormwater standards for the stormwater handbook is reasonable. And then he had some comments similar to some of the comments that DEP had relative to the updating of the labeling of water quality units and stuff like that. So some construction details here. So there were no major items that would make any changes on the plan aside from the same updates that we would make for conservation relative to DEP. So now that we have this, what my proposal tonight was going to be to continue to the next meeting with this knowledge. And between now and the next meeting, we get the plans updated. We'd prepare comment response letters for both the GEI comments as well as the DEP comments and get that over to both planning and conservation. And then from there, we would, at the next meeting, I think everything would be in order. And you'd have the plan set that would be appropriate to vote on versus one that's not quite there yet.
Okay, and will you also be doing an O&M and submitting that?
I believe the O&M was submitted as part of the, I think the note was, it's actually within the drainage analysis. There's a whole stormwater compliance and operation maintenance manual that's part of that. And I believe that on the DEP comments, they had one aspect that we needed to update in the O&M to include the maintenance activities for the proposed dry detention basin. So that will be all part of the submittal updates that we're providing to both planning and
Okay.
conservation. Yep.
Okay, so you're looking for a January 8th continuation?
Yep.
Okay,
I think instead of us trying to run around and try to get the plans updated and hand them to you tonight where you don't have time to review them. Let us have some time to get those squared away. Hopefully have those submitted, beginning of next week. And I know there's a week when no one's going to be around, but at least by then we should be able to just pluck right through the remaining comments and address everything that's been requested.
Okay, very good. So I'm looking for a motion to continue. Unless there are questions or comments from members of the commission. I don't want to overlook that formality. And I'm not seeing any. So I'm looking for a motion to continue.
So moved?
Second,
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Chris. Roll call vote. Jenny,
Aye.
Chris,
aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
390 Howard Street, we've already continued. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing to reissue orders of conditions for a notice of intent by Greg Roy of Dillison Roy on behalf of John and Kathy Beal for the construction of an addition to an existing dwelling, porch, deck, extension driveway, and addition of a retaining wall. Proposed changes span the 30, 50, and 100-foot buffer zones of Hickory Hill Lake located at 12 Horizon Island Road. Do we have Greg and or the owners here?
Yeah, Madam Chair,
On the
Greg Roy
call.
with Dillison Roy. I am here representing the applicant, Kathy, at least Kathy, and perhaps John is likely on with Kathy as well. So we were here 2 weeks ago to ask you for essentially two things. One is to issue or I guess reissue, we were calling it, the originally approved order of conditions that was approved on or about March 2nd of 2022, but no one could find a copy of the signed. We think it just didn't get signed and issued. So you did do that. You voted to do that. You all were kind enough to sign that, and we have now recorded it, and we have sent that to back into Sophie, so you have your file is up to date. So the second thing we asked you is that we were actually also looking to assuming that order was still in place, which at the time it wasn't, but now it is. We're now asking you to amend the order of conditions to allow for some improvements, repairs, if you will, to the existing wall, retaining walls by the lake. And I did summarize what we're looking to do. We're looking to replace, last meeting, we're looking to replace the walls essentially with naturalized stone wall. The applicant is looking to hire Brett Ramsden, a reputable local stonemason, to do that work. We would be moving the primary issue at the original hearing 2.5 years ago was that we had a floodplain issue relative to the way we were proposing to do the wall repair. We're now proposing to move that wall back from the lake, creating additional land underwater, an additional lake area, if you will, thereby completely mitigating any concerns with floodplain, because we'd actually be increasing the floodplain storage in the area. At the last meeting, it was asked that we provide you with an updated Form 3 that documented that, which we also did sometime last week, which documented that there will be an increase in the amount of flood storage. It did document the temporary work we're proposing in land underwater, and then also documented the permanent increase in land underwater that would be created or mitigated, if you will, so that the amended order conditions can be drafted. So I think that's it. I'm happy to take any questions. My understanding was we were waiting for those two sort of formalities to happen. Recording of the original order, which was done, and then that Form 3 that sort of memorialized the numbers that I presented at the last meeting. So no further changes are requested as, we're just here to try to get to get that complete. Unless there's any other questions that you have, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, I was just looking back over my notes. And this work is going to be done completed during Lake Drawdown, right? And that's part of the
The Beals might be able to provide an update. I think they were imminently going to be signing Brett up to do the work, which I think he's proposing to do in January. We currently, at least, truthfully, I haven't been to Hickory Hills and observed that, but on the Lake Shirley end of things, there's an exceptionally good drawdown this year.
yeah,
So
there is.
we're really in a good position here. So we'd like to strike while the iron's hot and get things going here in the next week or two, if
Lake
possible.
Shirley almost looks like it's been vacuumed out.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Greg,
Yeah.
it took us 5 minutes to figure out how to unmute. Do you want us to or no?
I don't think, unless there's any questions directly for, do you have, I guess the only question I have, John, is the plan still to have Brett in there, early January?
That's correct.
Okay, I
He
think
was
that's
going to
all.
attend this meeting, but he's stuck in Connecticut.
Understood.
Yeah, but yeah, during drawdown in January, if everything gets approved.
Yeah, that's consistent with my memory as well. One thing though that I did want to bring up, when I was out there, I had observed, and we had talked about some of the, previous erosion that had happened, and it looks like there's a lot of sand that kind of had washed over the existing wall.
Yep.
That sand should be pulled back up onto the shore and out of the lake bed. So
Yep.
I would be looking
Yeah.
for you guys to take that corrective action while you're doing this work.
Okay, we can talk to Brett and make sure he does that. Any specifications on how much sand?
No.
Okay. Just a good faith effort?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from members of the commission? Okay, so the conditions that we definitely want to ensure are highlighted is it must be completed during lake drawdown, and then the applicant needs to bring the sand that's on the lake bed back up onto the shore. I'm looking for a motion to approve the amendment.
So moved.
Second.
Second?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Chris. Roll call vote. Jenny,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and I for myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along. Certificate of compliance for 57 Round Road. Sophia, did you have an opportunity to go out there?
So this one we already previously discussed at the last meeting, and it was decided to continue it because DPW, I was in correspondence with DPW, and they had some concerns, and they were going to do some work on the crushed pipe.
Mm-hmm.
And so I reached back out to just to confirm that I understood correctly as to what their suggestion was going to be. And essentially they don't advise removing all of the pavement in general. They will be. So they removed part of the pavement, I'm assuming It's probably done by now, that small section, and replaced it with gravel, or will be replacing it with gravel, while they don't have access to the asphalt because it's not asphalt season. And then in the spring, they will pour asphalt over that patched area. But there is no plan for the DPW to go ahead and, tear up the entire paved area that was shown in the plan to be removed. So at this point, the applicant should be submitting a revised plan if they don't plan on restoring that area to loom and seed.
That's what I believe is should happen as well. You know, and I'm happy for them to cite the DPW recommendation and letter as well. So my understanding, though, from a matter of process, is that when we receive requests for certificate of compliance, we should hear it, right? And if we can't approve it, we should reject it and cite the reason. So in this particular case, and I actually thought we had voted last time to reject it and then ask for clarification from Bill. But I think procedurally, we should reject it and cite the reason is that they needed to submit a change notice to us.
That
Does
sounds
it-
like the proper, yeah, that sounds like the proper course of action. I did attempt to get more detail out of the DPW as to their plan and, timing, but I guess their staffing and the way that they work is very kind of opportunistic. So I guess we'll see if we get hopefully more detail on what their plan would be and why they don't think that it's possible, or why they don't advise doing that.
Okay. So at the very least, we need to, it sounds like we need to reject it tonight, and tell the applicant that they need to submit a change notice. And in parallel, Sophia, you'll see if you can get a date out of DPW or some type of time estimate. Is the applicant in a hurry because their NOI is expiring, or they're getting ready to sell the property or something?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. I mean, I don't, I have no issue with the practice. I would think if they're done with everything that they think they can do, that it's best practice, go ahead and ask for the certificate of compliance. But yeah, I just was mostly asking for the benefit of the commission to understand if there's something that's putting pressure on the schedule here. Okay, I think I'm looking for a motion to reject this.
So moved.
Thank you, Mike.
Second,
Thank you, Jenny. Roll call vote, Chris,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jenny,
aye.
aye for myself. Okay, thank you. Moving along, violations. Sophia, what do we have to discuss there?
10 Mass Ave, I sent out a fine notice. And I got a return receipt signed by somebody. I know it wasn't the owner of the establishment, but it was signed. And now they have up until, I believe, 21 days to make that payment or take next steps in action. But they should be paying the fine, attending a meeting, being active at some degree and by this point. But all we want right now is for them to file an NOI with us and DEP, and they haven't done that still.
Okay, so they need to pay the fine and take action both, right?
That's right.
Okay. And have you been back there, or is there erosion protection still in place?
Yeah, it's still there. There's no major concerns with the erosion control there.
Okay,
I didn't
Good.
see any additional sediment. That was I think a few weeks ago.
okay. Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other updates?
Greg has his hand up, Mary.
Oh, sorry, Greg. Yeah.
Madam Chair, I'm here with Dominic to just briefly discuss the status update on the enforcement for 828 Lancaster Ave. I got to stick with you longer, but I thought maybe if you were willing to take that out
Yes,
of
of
order.
course. I am definitely willing to do that. I'm glad you spoke up. Thank
You
you.
bet. With
Okay.
your permission, I'll just give you a quick summary here.
Okay.
Dilson Roy has been retained by Wachusett Investments. Dominic is representing Wachusett Investments here. They, I'll say, immediately engaged our firm after receiving the correspondence from the town. They also, and they engaged our firm on a couple of fronts. One was relative to some issues with the building department, which we're resolving not under your purview. But one is to prepare and file a notice of intent for the work that has been done within the buffer zone that is essentially associated with the renovation of the house and, quite frankly, the cleanup of the property. I think a lot of you know the property. It's been in disrepair for a while. So I think in the haste of getting things cleaned up there was work done within the buffer zone. They immediately retained our firm. We are working. Matter of fact, I should be filing a notice of intent tomorrow. I have things sort of uploaded on the various portals. I just haven't hit the send button yet. For the restoration work that will be required for the work that's been done in the buffer. I will say that the applicant also immediately or as quickly as possible installed a complete perimeter erosion control barrier, which consists of stake down straw wattles and silt fence, which wraps the entire property all the way around on the wetland side, as well as the rear, even the upgrading sides and the Lancaster Ave side. I did inspect that. It does appear to be in order. You're going to get a plan from my office that shows the location of that, along with the location of the areas that were disturbed and specifications for restoration. I will say that there was no work performed within 30 feet of a wetland. So within your 30-foot no disturb zone, my plan will document that. And there has been no structures created within the buffer zone, and certainly not within the 50-foot no build zone. So all of the work that was done, which again was really associated with cleaning of the property, removing debris and things, and sort of smoothing out the area. No tree removal that I can see within the buffer zone was done. No significant vegetation removal. So I just want to give you that update. I wanted to tell you that the applicant or the owner has been responsive The only reason you haven't gotten a filing so far is not due to his lack of responsiveness. It's due to his engineer being pretty busy. But we are trying to get that moved to the top of our stack, and you should have a filing certainly by the end of the week. So that's it. Just want to give you the update.
Okay, thank you for that. Questions or comments from members of the commission? Okay, and I'm not
Madam
seeing any.
Chair,
Yes, Mike.
sorry, I'm not as quick on the raise the hand.
That's okay. Yeah.
Just curious, has anyone gone to see this property? Has Sophia gone, or has the commission
I
gone?
think Sophia has been out there. I personally have not, but Sophia has been out there.
Do we have a photograph, or will that come later?
Sophia?
I have pictures.
Love
Okay.
pic-
Seems like we have a request for pictures.
Okay.
Again, you are going to get a chance to review this in detail once we file the notice, but happy to show them now.
Just one moment.
So Sophia, why don't you narrate us through these photos so that we're kind of read into, what you're looking at and the context of the property and whatnot.
So this side, that's all soil and fill. That would be the property owner. And then basically where these little stakes are with the
Mhm.
flagging, those represent the property line, I believe. And
correct.
then slightly over that little hill, which there should be another photo coming up, is the silt fence installed in the straw wattles. This is just a detail as to what kind of contents were dumped on the property. It really looked like kind of like a landfill mixed with soil and rocks and various debris. And right here you can see where the erosion control is. This is just a side profile as well. Again, here's the stake that indicates the property line.
All the fill that was existing on site. When we took down the big barn attached to it, you have to dig up under the concrete slab to remove that. And I knew that I was placing another garage right in that same location, a detached one. So I dispersed some of the material there. Nothing, of course, was dirty. I am planning on putting fresh loam down over it in the springtime, but
Yeah, and you're going to see specifications for this on the notice of
Yeah.
intent plan. So I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here because we are going to be proposing a solution for this.
Okay.
But it's not like the fill you're seeing, it wasn't brought in from the site. It was all, material that has been on site.
Thanks for that clarification.
Well, upon top of the soil and I guess you could say debris from the site itself, there was freshly poured concrete. I know that's pretty common to see on construction sites where they just dump the concrete there. And that's kind of, you can see like this area right here is basically the edge of the wetland that was
It's not,
encroached on.
that's not the wetland, just to be clear. We're not anywhere near the wetland there. We're at least 30
So
feet
this
away.
isn't within the buffer zone at all.
Within the buffer, but not near it's 30 feet from the wetland. I want to be clear about that, at least.
So it's within the buffer zone of the wetland. But this is basically where it is. It's encroaching on the
In the buffer,
wetland
for
within the
sure.
buffer zone.
It's in the buffer, yeah.
And here's just a different angle of that, I guess, to better depict it. And another angle, there's one of the main roads. Again, this is the property stake. This is looking back at the property from the road.
Very good.
And that was one of the oil issues that I encountered that has been addressed.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those troubling pieces. I think we're probably all familiar with the house. So we've all probably been driving by it for decades. The applicants, Dominic and his team, are really trying to bring some life back into the property. So we understand that there's some work that was done that should have been permitted, and we're going to correct that through the filing of notice of intent. So there'll be more discussion on this, and we will be addressing all of those points in our plan and filing.
Thank you, Greg. Mike, any more comments?
No, that was great. Thank you for the overview. I appreciate it. And thank you, Sophia, for the pictures.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any more commissioners with their hands raised, so thank you for that update, Dominic and Greg. I appreciate it.
Thanks for taking us out of order. Appreciate it.
No
Thank you.
worries.
Yeah, I take full ownership, of course, for what I did, and I actually live on a pond, so I'm familiar with conservation. I did not know, but I'm here to do whatever I can to make it right.
All right. I
To be
appreciate you
fair,
saying that.
to be fair, we're working with Mr. Violet, who owns the property next door. You have a filing for that project as well to make this really, really interesting. And we actually delineated the wetlands that you saw, one of the blue flags that Sophie had in her
Right.
picture. We did that in the beginning of the summer. But the flags had fallen down and gotten down into the nap of the earth, and you truly couldn't see it, to the point where Steve said, "Did you guys even do this?" And
Yeah.
so they just weren't visible. And if you look after a dry summer, it just doesn't look that much. The wetland area doesn't look much different than the upland area. So you can easily see how this was done. I think it was an honest mistake. I think that the spirit of things here, as I've been saying, is to clean up the property, not to make, not to degrade wetlands. So we'll get it fixed. You'll see a plan shortly.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Sophia, do we have updates on any of the other violations on our tracking list?
45 Road 12, I had a discussion with Jenny about that. I was going to take action and issue fines based on the facts that I had and chronological discussions that we've had over the months. And it was kind of drawn to my attention that maybe there could be another way to go about that part that's missing, that is outstanding from the orders of conditions that they haven't addressed yet. And that would be installation of either signage or barricades of some sort on that property, distinguishing the town-owned property. Now, the question in itself was, how can the commission hold someone responsible for town property at that level? Would this be a police matter? Would that be more fitting for this type of issue? So I'm open to further discussion on that.
So, so Jenny and I did walk out on that property this weekend, and one thing that I was not aware of until I was out on that property is one of the residents still has piles of stuff within the buffer zone on the town property. So it looked like, you know, at least a cord of wood, if not more, maybe a couple of construction pallets that look like the types of pallets that maybe pavers or bluestones arrive on, and then it looked like, I don't know, maybe some kind of sink. So all of that stuff had been moved out of the immediate area that had been loamed and seeded, but was still immediately adjacent to it in the buffer zone. And then between the area that had been loamed and seeded and the stump cove, there was another pile, kind of a line of debris, if you will, that looked like, I don't know, like pieces of tin or thin stone or other thin construction material that looked like it had been laid out kind of in a pathway that led to a place where someone was dumping their grass. So in my opinion, they haven't actually complied with the order of conditions until all that material is removed. So it's a little bit bigger than just the barrier that we thought it was last time we met. Jenny, do you want to add any other comments, or, you know, if you have a difference of opinion, certainly would love to hear your perspective on this.
No, I think that sums it up, that of what we saw while we were there. And yeah, that's really all I have to add to it. I'm wondering if, you know, when I was in the office talking to Sophie about this, and we were talking about the fact that it's really town-owned property, and which made it a little bit complicated, but the fact that they're dumping things into it looks like they have a pathway where they're actually putting their brush and their grass clippings into a wetlands that's owned by the town. Would that make it a police matter? Or what would? Because
It seems like that would.
Something we could act on.
Yes. It seems like it would make it a police matter.
So maybe that should be our next step, Sophie?
So bring it to the police department's attention.
I actually recommend that you talk to Chris Riley about it, if you've not already. Have you?
I don't believe on this specific topic. No, I don't think he's up to date on this.
I think we should talk to Chris, right, and get the benefit of his guidance on that. You know, and I think, but you should also explore, are there other means of resolution here for the town? And this may end up in litigation. So I don't want to overspeak on matters that might end up in litigation. I want to stay strictly to the Conservation Commission jurisdictional comments, and for certain the violations in the buffer zone have not been fully corrected. We did speak, you know, we attempted to speak to both residents. One resident, you know, at first said, "Oh no, that's not my stuff," and then he said, "That is my stuff," and said he would remove it. Although he's been given 3 years to remove it, as far as I can tell. The other resident was very amenable to talking to me and Jenny, and went through a chronological history that certainly sounded reasonable and made a lot of sense. And that resident has actually forked out all of the money so far to do the loam and seeding, because he said, "Listen, you know, if we did something wrong, we did something wrong. I just want to get it fixed. I don't want to have a problem with the town." He said, "I've asked you know, my neighbor to pay." He said he would. He hasn't done so yet. He said, "But I do believe that he will." But in my opinion, you know, kudos to that person for just trying to go ahead and take the lead on resolving the conflict. And that resident had a vehicle parked in the area. We told him you're not allowed to park in the area. He said it was just there because of the snow. I understand. I'll remove it. On the day we were there was not snow there anymore. But he did say that he would remove it promptly and understood he was not supposed to be parking there. Anyway, that's yeah, I think we should probably, yeah, Sophia, I think you should probably talk to Chris and get Chris's guidance on how to navigate this issue through the town. Certainly I'd be glad to, schedule a call with you and Chris, if we can schedule, time for me to come up and talk to you both. I'd be happy to do that. But yeah, that's what I think the next steps are on this particular topic. I would like to get the violations corrected, and then if we can allow the town to figure out how to resolve the rest of the open conditions in a manner that works well for them and get us out of the middle of this, if we can do that.
Okay. I'll try to set something up between the three of us. I'm sure virtual would work better for you.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
It would, unless it's early in the morning.
Okay.
I turn into a pumpkin when California logs on. Okay. Mike, you had your hand up and then it went down.
Yes, I was just concerned, and it sounds like you probably have this already squared away. It looks like the owners know that they're parking incorrectly, and my question was, are there signs saying that this belongs to the town of Lunenburg? Is there?
No.
Okay. That was just a suggestion. Do we do that on occasion?
I think that's up to the town to do, to be honest with you. I mean, just my opinion. Now, the order of conditions that was negotiated with the town was to put up some type of barrier. And I do think that's appropriate because this space invites people to park there. It's
Okay.
flat, it's adjacent to the road. And I think that it should have some type of physical barrier to inhibit people from parking there.
Okay.
But I also don't, who has to do it? I don't have a dog in that fight, it's, we speak to the Wetland Protection Act and we speak to the owners of the parcels to enforce the regulations, uphold the regulations, right? And in this case, we're somehow in between the town and encroachers.
Okay.
And I'm interested in getting us out of the middle as fast as we can be. But there are certainly obvious grievances there between the town and the abutters.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sophie. Any other updates? Do we, were you able to contact the owners of 1168 Mass Ave? And are they planning to come to a meeting, do we know?
Let's see. I sent a letter to attend this meeting. I don't know if they received it in time, but I did send a letter.
Okay.
I can't see the land from the road.
No. No, you wouldn't be aware of it unless you had access to Nearmap.
Oh yeah, I did review that and it's pretty drastic. But like physically going out there, I'd need permission and
Correct.
yeah. So I guess
Well, we'll
I don't see anybody here for that.
no, I don't either. So we'll bump that to the next meeting and hope that the parcel owners have the wherewithal to join us.
Okay. 950 Chase Road, that was the Still the shed removal discussion. I vaguely remember us emailing back and forth, and I think you might have got
I sent
this.
an
was it
email to
select
the,
board?
I
Or
sent an email to the chair of the, select board. So this one, we're just gonna keep as tracking. The select board's gonna have to, entertain, if they want to take additional steps or not.
okay, so just leave that on for
Yeah,
until that's resolved.
yeah.
Okay. Nothing on 48 Meadow.
And if you don't have any
67.
other, oh, go ahead.
Yes, I was just gonna say 67 Island Road. I'll remove that for the next meeting as they did submit their application.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's it for violations.
Okay, very good. Okay, we're gonna move along to new business and I'm gonna go out of order here. Actually, I'm gonna move into the rest of the, I'm not gonna move into new business. I'm actually gonna go out of order and go to grant update because we do have some updates from Greg, who's been working on our our Lunenburg RTP 2023 grant. So Greg, you want to give us an update? Tell us where you are.
Yeah, you bet. Greg Roy, Dillson Roy, I'm representing the Lunenburg Conservation Commission.
Thank
Thanks for the
you.
opportunity. Can I share my screen? I'm assuming
Yes,
that's fine.
please.
Okay. So, there were really 4 grants awarded, but 3, on 3 conservation areas. One was Table Rock. The second one was Reno, and the third one was Cowdery. I'm here tonight. I was instructed to prioritize Table Rock by Bob Pease. So I'm here tonight to show you a progress on that. But I do want to say that the others are in progress. We've surveyed the Reno property, and we'll be bringing that plan to something that looks more like this level in the next, several weeks. I actually don't think we actually may be able to get a parking lot in the Reno property without any buffer zone impacts, believe it or not, or
Oh, that'd
minor
be
ones.
great.
So
Yeah.
I may not even need to file with your board. It may just be a planning board filing in that case. And then Cowdery, I think you may be discussing that later. There's some additional work, and I'm happy to opine on that when the time comes. But for now, I just wanted to briefly show you where we're at with the Table Rock property. The plan is here in front of you. Northfield Road is right here along the bottom of the page. Over here, kind of in the area of the locust map, this is the golf course property. And so this area right here is the wooded area between Stagecoach, which is somewhere over here on where the erosion control barrier details are, and we're right in that wooded area between those two, between the golf course and Stagecoach. And it was our instruction to get a parking area here. And so in this case,
Greg, could you zoom in just a little bit?
You bet I can. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Thank
okay,
you.
great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So there is a wetland system, and it's shown in dot hatch here. It's a little bit difficult, but essentially the entire frontage, all the way up to Stagecoach Road, effectively is wetland resource area. So there's really no alternative but to cross the wetland and do a wetland fill to get a parking area on the upland portion of the property, which is on the northerly side of the wetland system. In this case, the wetlands were delineated by others, by
Matt Morrow, I think, did it. Yeah.
Matt delineated these. We actually went out and verified them as part of this work, refreshed the flags, because they've been done some time ago. And we actually hung the B series flag, which is along the and adjacent to the road on the roadside, just to define that edge. So, and then we did a pretty detailed survey. We of course located the road, we located the wetland flags, and then in this case, I just had the crew locate all of the significant trees in the area. So all of these green dots that you see are all the green blobs, are all of the trees of significant size. And then the other thing we located, if you're familiar with this area, is there's a lot of very large boulders, surface boulders, if you will, particularly as you go across the wetland. These round circles are indicated of the location of those large significant stones that are going to be or boulders that are going to be costly to move, would be an understatement. So we located those because they really do drive our solution here. So we're proposing a driveway crossing of the wetland. The red hatched area is the limit of what the wetland fill would be to achieve the wetland crossing. We chose this area because, in spite of the fact that we're removing, I think, 5 trees, it seemed to us the least amount of overstory clearing that would be required to get across the wetland. We initially thought about doing it in the shortest possible location across the wetlands. There's really 2 logistical issues with that. One is we're removing some pretty significant overstory, some 16-inch, 18-inch maples, and there's a big 24-inch oak here that would be in jeopardy. That kind of would really be too close to a driveway from a sight distance standpoint. And the location of these boulders really made it kind of difficult from a constructability standpoint. So for a modest amount of increase, 100 or 200 square feet of increase wetland fill, still under the 5,000, mind you, so we're still within the parameters of the Wetlands Protection Act. We thought that this would be the best location for it because it allows us to go around these really large boulders, keep those in place essentially, and we believe minimize the tree removal that would be required for the crossing. We would be installing, limiting the width of this by using retaining walls on both sides of the driveway, and just constructing this of minimum width, a 12-foot drivable gravel surface is what we're proposing. And that we would maintain that width essentially through the wetland and all the way through the 30-foot no disturbance zone. So we'd be looking to minimize work within both the wetlands, but also in your 30-foot locally jurisdictional area. And then when we get outside, the 30-foot is this first orange arc. When we get outside of that, that's when we will sort of flare out the erosion control, if you will, and emerge into the parking area, which is back in here. We're showing 10 gravel spaces. We weren't exactly sure how many spaces we were to do. We thought 10 was a reasonable number. You may opt for less. I guess I'd suggest if you're on the fence with that and we're going out for bids, let's go out to bid with more, and then we can always reduce if we have a cost implication. If you get grant money and it comes in and the bids come in too high, that's one option you have for that. So this sorry, I'll try not to talk too much, but this project would not be afforded an exemption from the stormwater management policy. So we do need to comply with Massachusetts stormwater management policy because it's not a residential project of 4 or fewer lots. So we have designed a stormwater management area that's outside of the 50-foot because we are proposing to do stormwater infiltration. One of the performance standards for that is you have to be at least 50 feet from a wetland area. We'd be effectively sloping the parking area and directing it towards that BMP, where it would infiltrate, and then any larger storm events would overflow. And then the only other thing that the only other component to this would be, we need to replicate the wetland, the loss of wetlands for the permanent crossing of the driveway. And we're proposing to do that, just upgrading it of the, I guess it's upgrading it, but in this location here. We'd be replicating at a 1.5 to 1 ratio. Of, you know, if we'd be filling 1,000 square feet, we're replicating 1,700 effectively, is what we're proposing on this plan. And I won't go into detail, but we've also, this whole entire second sheet, effectively, almost all of it is relative to specifications on the replication and document compliance with the Massachusetts Replication Manual and Guidelines. So there's all the required plantings and seeding, soil preparation, oversight and monitoring, you know, specifications on erosion control, specific, the erosion control that needs to be done specific for these type of replication areas and the like. Purpose of coming tonight was really just to give you a progress update and make sure I'm on the right track. You're going to see this and you're going to get to review this and punch holes in it when I file a formal notice of intent. And it's also going to be reviewed by the planning board because parking lots of 5 or more, I think it is, or it actually might even be a lower threshold. There might be modifications of parking, or I can't remember. We determined that in our scope of work is to bring this before planning board for site plan approval. So there'll be another layer with planning board on this as well. So that's all. Happy to take any initial comments that you have or questions.
That's great, Greg. Thank you. We had discussed this being a larger parking lot, and 10, I think, is the right number to be shooting for. So
Okay.
I'm really happy to see all of that. It's a really interesting parcel. It's good for a lot of different types of trail usage. So I could see if there's parking there that that could we could see on occasion that being filled up. Yeah, I think this looks great. Chris?
Greg, you were saying something about there being 4 lots or more. Did you mean 4 parking spaces? Can you get me up to speed?
No, sorry, that was probably confusing. So if you have a project, this isn't one of them, but if you have a project that proposes 4 residential housing lots or less, you don't have to comply. You're exempt from stormwater management. But that's the only time that you're exempt from stormwater management.
Oh,
Or a single family, 2 lots, 3 lots, or 4 lots.
okay,
Any other project, regardless of how small or minor it is,
okay.
requires compliance with Massachusetts stormwater management. So that's why we have to comply. Sorry for the confusion on that.
No worries. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments on that plan? Okay, thank you, Greg.
Okay, we'll be advancing this to, you know, permit level submittal status, and you'll be seeing a filing on this relatively soon. We are going to need signatures. Who on the applications? Who should do that? Who should I send that to for signature?
I suppose me.
Okay, so that'll be for the Form 3 and also for the planning board application. So I'll send that along once those are ready to go.
Okay, very good. So the other thing relative to the grants that Bob sent to me, and Bob's been running a lot of point on this since we got the grant actually approved, is a request for 5,500 to to add wetland delineation and lot line staking for the project that had under this grant that had been scoped in the Cowdrey Harley area. And I think Bob had hoped he could get someone to do a wetland delineation for us gratis, and it seems like that's not to be. And then in thinking through over in the Cowdrey Harley area where we wanted to add a connection bridge to an existing kind of cart path around, it gets close to some existing lot lines, and we want to make certain that whatever we're doing over there is not encouraging people to trespass. So the lot line staking, I think, also makes sense. Anything that you would want to add about that, Greg? Any other context?
No, that's right. I guess I just wanted to make sure that, I guess, for your benefit, but also for the public, anybody watching,
Yeah.
the change order requests weren't my idea. So,
Yeah.
the, two requests that Mary summarized. One was, originally we were asked not to include wetland delineation in our scope of work because it was going to be done by others. So we didn't. It's, we're ready now to go out and do the surveying, and I walked it with my survey crew chief, and the wetlands weren't delineated. So I talked to Bob, asked him what he wanted us to do, and he asked me to provide a cost to do that. So that's the first thing, first part of it. The second thing is that Bob asked us, just as Mary said, to mark the property lines on that far side, on the opposite side of the Mulpus Brook, from the observation platform. And that we didn't have any property line work really in our initial scope of work. So that's just, anytime we put a stake in the ground, it takes it takes our survey department a little bit extra time to do the research and recon and things that's required. So try to keep that as minimum as we can for you. But
I appreciate that.
That's the reason for the ad.
Yeah.
Not
yeah.
because not because the project's over budget. We haven't started anything yet.
Yeah.
It's just because there was some additional items that weren't in our original scope.
Yeah, exactly. And the history is exactly as you had articulated there. So it had not been our original ask in the RFP. So
Yeah.
all right. Do we have any questions or concerns about that additive work? Because I am going to ask for a vote to approve that additional 5,500. And we do have that bandwidth within the RTP grant to accommodate that overage. I had anticipated a few things here and there, so I think I'm looking for a motion to approve 5,500 additional for wetland delineation and lot line staking associated with the Cowdrey Harley RTP 2023 grant.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, and I guess the thing that I need to say for the benefit of our office staff is that would be proposed to come out of our timber rights fund as well. Okay, and I had Chris gave me the motion and Mike gave me the second. Roll. Did I have it backwards?
Backwards.
Oh, okay. Must be after 9 o'clock. Yeah, so roll call vote. Jenny,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay, thank you.
I think I'm done. You're free of me. Thanks,
All
everybody.
right, thank you, Greg.
Thanks.
See ya.
Thanks for your hard work on
Hey,
this.
happy holidays, everybody. We'll see
Yeah,
you.
you too.
Yeah,
You
same to
too.
you. Okay, now circling back to new business. One item that actually just got recirculated this week that I wanted to bring up to everybody is I had been contacted by Mr. Albert Averill, who is with the NRCS, which is actually on behalf of the American Farmland Trust. I think NRCS is a federal program that's natural resource conservation. Anyway, primarily though on behalf of the American Farmland Trust. And what Mr. Averill was highlighting to the town. So he contacted me. He also contacted the town agricultural commission, as well as the select board. I had looped in the open space planning commission or committee and was going to talk to them at the last meeting, but we didn't have a quorum, so we couldn't talk. And so what Mr. Averill was identifying is an opportunity that's free of cost to the towns is for him to come in and identify farmland of local importance. So through federal programs, there's already been a classification, federal and state, a classification of prime farmland, unique farmland, farmland of statewide importance. That's all based on soil surveys. Those regulations also allow for a classification of farmland of local importance, and that has to actually be done by the municipality, but through this grant, we can have that done for free. And the only thing that the town has to do is actually endorse and ratify the findings of the soil scientist that's doing that work, which would be Mr. Averill under this American Farmland Trust. He said in the majority of towns that he's working with in Massachusetts, it's actually a Conservation Commission that offers to sign those reports and findings. He said in some towns, you know, if they have a really strong agricultural commission, the agricultural commission might get involved, but more often than not, it's Conservation Commission. This has been circulated to the commissioners. And I don't know if anybody's had time to read it. Mr. Averill spent about an hour with me on the phone last night going over this. I don't really see any downside. The upside is that if we have any farmers that are sitting on parcels that they're not able to get into an agricultural abatement program because they don't meet the 50% farmland soil criteria, this might actually get them the extra little bit of designation that allows them to meet that 50% threshold and be able to actually file for a farm abatement. It doesn't force any parcel owner to put their land in agricultural abatement. It just opens the doors for our farmers that might otherwise be blocked due to the previous state and federal classifications. Any questions about it? So what I was going to ask for tonight is that you guys would be willing to endorse me for providing that signatory, as long as we have no opposition from the select board, the open space planning commission, and it's not a commission, it's a committee, and the agricultural commission. I certainly don't want to get in anybody's way. But it does seem like it's a good program. It's a benefit. We bring benefit to the town for free, which I'm all on board for. So would you guys be willing to endorse that?
Yes.
I support you.
Jenny, what are your thoughts?
I would support it.
Okay, very good. Okay, so I'm not going to ask for a formal vote right now, but with your verbal endorsement, I'll reach out to those peer commissions and committee and make certain there are no obstacles. And as long as they confirm, then I would come back to you and ask for a formal vote. So
Sounds
thank
good.
you. Thank you for that. The conservation budget report has been uploaded to the share drive. Is it in the current meeting folder, Sophia? Or is it a different
Ye-
folder?
Yes, it should be in that folder.
Okay.
Maybe a folder within that one. Let's see.
Okay, and what I've asked of the office is to upload that monthly. It seems like the report comes on the 15th, Sophia, if I recall correctly, of every
Yes,
month.
that's right.
And for them to just upload a copy of that report to the share drive so that we have access to it. Chris,
Mary, regarding the previously discussed paint stewardship that I talked about at the beginning of the meeting, you
Mhm.
asked if there was any action, and I stand corrected. The town manager asked us to discuss it and forward a recommendation to the select board on the subject matter. So I don't know if we
Oh, okay.
vote, but I think that would be the protocol. I'm not sure.
Okay. So why don't we do this, Chris? So let's close out on the budget thing first and then
Yes.
come back to the paint
Yes.
stewardship.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Sophia, yeah, it would be, the plan now is to have the budget uploaded on the 15th to the share drive under the current folders.
Well, roughly the 15th.
Okay,
Sometimes she sends it not on that exact date because last time it was the 15th. It was a Sunday.
okay.
Yeah.
15th or the next business day. Okay, so then we'll have that, and I'll have this line item if anybody looks at that budget report and has questions. But unless we do have questions, I'm not planning on stopping there every meeting. Okay, I'll keep it as an open item, open agenda tickler. And then the paint stewardship, Chris, I've not had time to look at it, but I do have a break coming up, and I would like to look at it before I take action one way or the other on it. It does on the surface sound like a good program.
So
I don't know.
we all have the email, so I encourage everybody, all our commissioners to read the documentation. There is a charge, I believe it's $1 when people bring in paints, but there's a lot of documentation in there. Please read it, and then maybe on the next meeting, we can decide if we want to recommend it to the board.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a good plan of attack. Okay. And then the Permit Extension Act, I think, and Sophie, you may be closer to this than me. I think you had forwarded something from the state that all permits are automatically granted a 2-year extension. Is that correct?
That's right, excluding enforcements.
Excluding enforcements, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so does that mean the OOC that we had issued for 40 Fire Road 12 as an example would be extended, or since that one was an enforcement, that one would not be extended?
Well, it started as an enforcement, right? And then it was considered an order of conditions.
Maybe that's worth getting a clarification on. Jenny,
Yeah, I need to read through the whole entire article. It's very lengthy. Maybe there's more on that.
Jenny has her hand up. Maybe she's read in that level of detail.
So I did read it and it said it does not apply to enforcements.
And so-
Specifically, I have to pull it back up again, but I read it like 2 hours
I guess
ago.
my
I guess while
question
we're on
is, does it apply to DOAs or OOCs that are a result of that are actually a corrective action as a result of an enforcement?
So it does say that it applies to orders. So I think that because it's an order, but then I would let Sophie get clarification on that.
Okay, yeah.
I'm leaning towards, because it's an order, it still falls within that time period and that extension. But I can see where you would question that kind of gray area.
Okay, so I'll let you read that and in detail and maybe give us a better, at least your a better informed opinion on that. I also just again I made this announcement at the beginning of the meeting. In January, our schedule is different. The 8th, the 22nd, the 29th. 29th now, Lake Shirley has said they want to give us a report, and they've confirmed for the 29th as well. So I'm hopeful we can fill the quorum and get those lengthy lake reports out of the way and not on top of our regular cadence of business. No update on title searches, April Earth Day events. I've already reached out to the Parks Department and asked them if they wanted to participate with us this year. I'm hopeful that we can, kick off a April Earth Day events series of volunteer activities in April around our conservation properties, similar to what we have done in the past.
Madam Chair,
Yeah, Mike.
maybe I'm confused here. Does the library participate in this event, or is that Arbor Day?
They have participated and they certainly are welcome to participate.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll reach out to them and see if they want to participate.
thank you.
I mean, the nice thing about it is if we do have, any part of the town, buildings or organizations within the town that want to participate, either from doing the volunteer work or put their kind of, list of projects on the list, we do tend to get, at least a handful of volunteers that show up each one of those scheduled days and say, hey, what can I do? So it's really nice to be able to pull a group of people together like that and accomplish some volunteer work in town.
And I can connect with the pollinator habitat to see if they have any plans.
That would
well,
be wonderful. Yeah, to see if there's anything
Okay.
that last year I think they didn't want to because they wanted to leave all the beds dormant until the pollinators had emerged.
Yes.
But I mean, I am trying to raise the awareness earlier, so there may be some other things that could happen out in that parcel.
And do we have a date?
It will be. It's usually every weekend in April. We try to have something scheduled every weekend in April.
Okay.
Every weekend day in April is fair game. And we do try to, as things come in and get scheduled, not to schedule on top of other events, just so we don't have, one event, competing for the same pool of volunteers with another event. But it's a nice problem to have.
It is. I will reach out to the pollinator habitat volunteers to see what
Yeah, that'd be great.
What their plans are, to let them know that we're trying to do something either together or and that we've set aside these days in April, these weekends, and to see if they wanted to do something to participate with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd
Okay.
be great.
Okay.
Sophia.
I just had a question for Mike about the pollinator habitat area. It seems like he's the one that knows the most about it.
I would
Okay.
say that's a fair assessment.
What are the boxes that are hung up? They're very adorable and they have bees on them. However, they're empty.
There are some bat houses. You don't mean those. You mean other.
Yes, they have doors and you can open them.
Is
It's
this
not
at,
in the garden. It's kind of
Do you have a
as
photo?
you park. Ah, no, I don't have a photo of them exactly. But when it's basically between the parking lot and walking through that area that links the parking area to the pollinator habitat towards the left.
okay, because there is a little library. You don't mean the library box that has books. You mean further down that pathway?
They might be that. There weren't any books in them, but there
Okay,
were a couple shelves and there's bees painted on them.
okay, I believe that is the library, and because of it's winter, they probably remove the books, but when spring arrives, there will be all kinds of books on bees and or butterflies and literature. So that's what I believe that box is there for. And
Okay. All right, thanks. I was curious. I was doing running through a CR with North County Land Trust recently, and
okay,
those stood out. And then the other thing is there were piles of trash bags. They looked like there was like cuttings from plants or
I
debris.
believe that some of the invasives, and I will give a call to Bill Bernard. He usually sends his crew down to take those away and dispose of them, but that's what those are.
Okay. That's all.
Okay. I will give Bill a call and see if he won't take those away. And he usually is very good about doing that.
All right, thanks.
Just
That was
as
just
a clarification for me, the removal of the trash bags, is that actually a corrective action defined by the CR, or was that more of a curiosity question, Sophie?
a little bit of both. I noticed them and Emily wrote down that it would be kind of a corrective action once she writes up the report. So I'm just kind of getting
Okay.
a head start on that.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, very good. Moving along. Do we have any chapter 61 OpenGov workflow? Chapter 61 OpenGov workflow. What is that, Sophia? OpenGov workflow, I know what it is, but I associated with chapter 61, I'm unclear.
I think you actually brought this to my attention as like another
Oh, yeah, you're
task
right. That's my
down the
fault.
road.
That's my bad memory. Yeah, so I had asked you to look at anything that had a chapter 61 classification on it, if there was a way to make it more visible in the OpenGov workflow.
Right.
That's right. Okay. Well, thank you for reminding me what I had asked you about. So, has that made any progress?
No, it has not.
Okay. And are there opportunities for it making some progress in the future?
I certainly hope so. Right now it's still a matter of prioritizing, sticking within the statutory deadlines and timelines that I'm trying to keep up with.
Yeah.
But I would like to try to get that on, up and running, hopefully, I don't know, within the next few months.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for that. And for everybody else's benefit, so this was actually an action that came out of Open Space Planning Committee dialogue. One of the things that the committee members had noted is that the town is losing a lot of time when it comes to any parcel that's coming out of Chapter 61. The town has first right of refusal on purchase, but we have 120 days to exercise that purchase. which means that within 180 days, or I'm sorry, it's 120 days, within 120 days of being notified, we have to have purchased it, and that means you have to go through all of the committees that have jurisdiction and interest there, get approval, get funding, and actually, finalize the deal. And that's almost impossible to do. So even losing a week or 2 weeks of time really means that we've been losing some opportunities. And in most cases, the opportunities that we've lost have been because, we've lost 2 months of notification time because it just wasn't clear that what the applicants were doing was taking a parcel out of Chapter 61. And some of the things that Adam has advised on is that when the parcel owner approaches the first board about making improvements on land that has Chapter 61 abatement on it, that should be deemed a notification, and that our time clock starts ticking then. So as an example, those properties down on Kilburn, they had a Chapter 61 abatement on them. And so when they first filed with us to do those improvements, that was deemed a notification. But I didn't realize that we had Chapter 61 abatement on that. Another example is 255 Sunny Hill Road. The town, in theory, had first right of approval of refusal to purchase that land, and we just missed the timeline. By the time we figured out as a town that that was coming out as Chapter 61, we had 30 days left. So we have been looking at opportunities to make it clearer that there was a Chapter 61 protection on a parcel. At the time, they're reaching out and asking for a board to review an improvement. Chris?
In your opinion, if we got notified as early as possible, does 120 days even give us enough time to get that done? Seems like
Possible.
that's
Yeah,
short.
it's possible. It's very short. There's not a lot of time,
No.
but it's possible. Especially if, there happened to be a board or a commission that was sitting on a funded trust, right, that they could execute on quickly.
Okay.
There are those opportunities there. Okay, moving along. Anything from Hollis Road, Mike?
Yes, Madam Chair, I scheduled the heating system cleaning that was approved at the last meeting. It's coming up on January 27th. I've left word with Corinne that's going to happen. She has not responded, so I'm going to give her another text just to let her know that that's happening, and hope she received my message. And I'm sure they're gonna come in the morning between 8 and 10, and it should be done within the hour once they arrive, and we should be good for the winter season.
Excellent. Very good.
Okay, and that's all I really have. No updates on anything getting cabinets. There were a couple of things Nick was looking at, but I have not gotten word that anything has materialized. So we're still waiting for something to come up.
Very good. Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
I don't have any updates on, open space hasn't met. We haven't been able to field a quorum for a while. Any updates from Stormwater, Jenny?
No updates for me. I actually missed the last meeting,
Oh, okay.
and we're not meeting in January. I mean,
Okay.
in December. So,
Okay. Very good. And are there any parting comments?
Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays to everybody.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
That gets everybody to smile. Okay, it is 9:46 and I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second,
Second.
Chris. Thank you, Mike. Roll call vote, Jenny,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Mike,
aye.
and I for myself. Thank you, everyone.
Good
Okay.
night.
Good night.
Good
night.
night, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.